Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sarah Hughes, and I'm Senior Vice President of Customer Experience and Channel Marketing here at Kandy Communications. We welcome you to our next fireside chat. Today, we're going to be talking about hot desking with Kandy UC. A little housekeeping here. We will be sending this out to the recording to everyone as well as the slides. I do ask that each of you individually have registered. If there are other people that you want to also join this call, this webinar training, have them register as well and use a separate link to that. Please, in the chat, put your questions, and I do have Sharon Posadny on my team assisting to help MC the questions as they come in. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Without further ado, our agenda today is talking about what hot desking is, if it costs anything, what does it do? We'll also cover what phone vendors support it and what specific models of those phones that we support hot desking with. We'll also talk about the advantages of hot desking. We'll go through 3 different use cases. One using hot desking for customer phone implementation, another hot desking for drop-in and office workers, and then the last one, hot desking for return to work after the pandemic post-COVID-19. I'll go through and demonstrate how to provision and implement hot desking, and then we'll also talk about, and I'll show you the end user aspect of hot desking, what they can control. I'll demonstrate both logging in and logging out of a Polycom phone or Polyphone, the Yealink, and Cisco. At the very end, we'll have question and answers, but if you do have questions along the way, please again, feel free to input those questions in the chat and we'll answer them as we go along. So what is hot desking? Hot desking is, sometimes you hear hoteling. These are really essentially one and the same. Some people do differentiate these. One where hot desking is you just walk into an office and you choose an available spot similar to what you see here, kind of like a WeWork or a shared office space, and you can sit there. Another is where people call it hoteling, where you've actually booked a location of a specific desk or office, and you go in and choose a location. Whichever it is, it's basically the same thing, that you reserve an office, you find an open location that has a SIP telephone there, you log into it, and that phone will take on your settings. So that should be, one and the same. At the end of the day, you log out, and now that phone is available for the next person, okay? So as far as charges, there's no added charge whatsoever here from us to you. And you can decide how you want to do that. You can include it in certain packages and promote it that way. But any and all of the phones I'm going to show you do support that. And so it's controlled based upon the phone that you deploy and whether or not you turn it on in our system. So you have the control over that. All right, let's talk about the advantages of using hot desking. One, it's a cost reduction of real estate and all of that in sharing office space. Right now in the pandemic, there's so many people working from home, and some people are going into the office on certain days or maybe not at all. But there's a lot of real estate, commercial real estate, that is sitting there vacant. And so people are realigning those resources and saving money, realigning them to common areas and more open workspace areas where people can come in and reserve a spot or use that as needed. It also, hot desking adds an added level of security to things to protect personal information. When that employee logs out of that telephone, all the call logs, all of that kind of stuff are gone. So the next employee would log in, and everything, when they log out, it takes it with them too. It does give that employee or that associate or coworker an added kind of personalization. They're familiar with the phone experience, even if they're sitting at different locations, if you deploy basically the same type of phone all the way around. That way, I'm sitting here today, I'm sitting there 2 weeks from now, it's the same experience. These are my lines, these are my speed dials, and this is how I use my phone. It also, as I mentioned, the investment in commercial real estate facilities, that kind of thing, and hardware across multiple offices. You may have within driving distance or location, you do the same phones at each one of your locations as a business. And so as you have those, I could work in one office today, and 3 weeks from now, I could work in another office. And again, I have that same experience. For those employees that work from home and may reserve a drop-in cube or office, it coming into the office, it definitely helps them stay connected with those teams. Even though we use video collaboration and other things, it just helps them feel like they have a space there, and they can have all their communication needs met. When you look at it, this is a busy slide, I get it, but if you look at the 3 different handset manufacturers that we support hot desking with, you can see with Poly, there's a great many of them, same thing with Yealink and even Cisco. I have 3 different phones here I'm gonna show you today. I have a 411, um, maybe it's a, yeah, it's a 411 with VVX 411 with Poly. I have a T41S with Yealink, and I have a 6851 with Cisco, and you'll be able to see the experience, and I'll share that on my screen. I'm mirroring that so you can see it. But I'll leave this up, and if you want to take a snapshot with your phone or anything like that, these are also in our supported devices list. We document this every quarter. And then, of course, within our admin, you can pull down and look at that. I'm going to share that with you too. And you can see any of those that have the hot desking open to select. Those are the ones that we support them on. All right, so quite a few of these. Let's talk about those use cases. So instead of the way that we've always done it, taking all the phones out of the boxes and putting them on the workbench and plugging them in and checking everything, there's less and less out-of-box failures than there used to be. But making sure all those phones then are registered and staged with that employee's configuration, and then marking those. You see my name on that box there. I used to DESI phones a long time ago when I put in PBXs and key systems and all of that. And so putting the names of people on there. And then I had this big spreadsheet that matched the MAC addresses to the names of someone in the cube location, and we all had maps of the layout of the facility. And so those would get shipped and received, and then somebody would be on site to then go through and, oh, that's Sarah Hughes. I did not have her phone. I have to go back to the loading dock. It must be in that other shipment, and unpack it and bring it in. So there's a lot of that back and forth, a lot of work to get that done. So one thing that you can do is enable hot desking on all of those phones, and either have the end user go in, and what I'm going to show you today, enter their user ID and their hot desk password, or the on-site team could go in, place all the phones because they're the same, or within open areas, maybe they're one phone and offices maybe another, and then they go through and enter, like you have the same hot desk password initially, and go in and put in the user ID and the hot desk password, and those are all staged. So it's less work than having 1,500 boxes laying around, and oh, I can't find Sarah Hughes's box, or inventorying all of that. So that's one great use case. Another one is hot desking for drop-in office workers. We're going to see more and more of that. The next use case is on the pandemic, but at the beginning of the day or even beforehand, someone can go in and reserve an office online or just show up. The way that I've been in companies before, the way that you reserve conference rooms might be a good way to also reserve these drop-in offices so that they can reserve one and have a place to put their backpack and use the telephone there, plug in their computer. Or maybe they just find an open workspace using the credentials, they log into the phone. Again, it takes on all the business line and settings and busy lamp fields and speed dials that you would have, just as you would normally. Use it the same exact way. And then at the end of the day, they simply hit the log out or sign out button, depending upon the phone manufacturer. And whenever they log out, nobody can make calls on that phone because it's secure. There's no line on it anymore. And all of the settings and all that kind of stuff um, are gone. So it will take on the next particular user. So it's more secure that way. Another example, though, is the return to work. And I know for a fact within our company, other companies as well, I've heard shared office spaces, that kind of stuff. People want to, or the companies want to sanitize that work area, and maybe certain ones they haven't gotten to. So if you use it half a day, they want to sanitize it before anybody else comes in. So having the ability to reserve a space that has been sanitized, that is socially distanced, that using some of these same tools, just like you would a meeting resource. Now, many offices are also asking employees to fill out a fit to work type of form, just noting that I promise I'm not symptomatic. I do not have COVID. I've not been around anybody that's symptomatic, that kind of thing. And then the day that you do come back, you do log in just like you would to the telephone. It's going to take on your business line and settings, all that kind of stuff. Use the form as you normally would. And then again, at the end of the day, you log out, no logs or anything like that. The phone's secure. You go back home and you'll log in using your home. Same thing, that phone is also set. So you may actually, your MAC address will change in our system based upon that. It's not necessarily assigned to you unless you log in through hot desking. All right, let's now talk about how this is provisioned. And I'm going to go through this in the demonstration as well. But as you add a device into our device management under fulfillment device management, when you do, you enter the MAC address, you choose the vendor, and you choose the terminal type. You can choose the firmware. I highly recommend you always look at our supported devices for the latest firmware. But you'll notice for those that we support it, you'll see Hot Desk show up, and by default it's disabled. And so you are able to hit the enable here, and you'll hit save. And when that phone is loaded into the zero touch provisioning and all of that, it will be enabled for hot desking. And so it'll be sitting at the user login and all. If you use our bulk import, where you've got from the manufacturer or the distributor, Jenny, Ingram Micro, whoever you use, tons of them out there, then when you get that order, you can ask for the spreadsheet of all of the MAC addresses and phone types, and you can export that from their portal or email it to you, and then you can bulk import them using our tools here. But our bulk import has a flag for you to be able to say if you want to enable hot desking for those phones. So those that you want to have in common areas or work from home employees who want to be able to move back and forth, you would definitely enable it for them. Now, if it is an existing phone already updated, then you are able to go in and check the box here, and you can hit on the right-hand side. We've changed this. It used to be across the top. Now it's on the right-hand side. You can select enabled for hot desk and click modify devices. So you could select multiples here and hit enabled and select modify devices. It will change those devices to support hot desking. So that's why I said it's not chargeable by us, but if you want to charge or include it in a certain package, you can do that. It's up to you, totally up to you, but we do not charge for that. So then whenever you're in the subscriber provisioning within fulfillment subscribers, there's kind of 4 quadrants, and in the bottom right, there's a place where you enter, you can select the time zone and all this kind of stuff here. There is a place, and you might not have noticed it if you've ever set that, but this is where that hot desk password is set up. Okay, so this is the password that they'll use if hot desking is enabled along with their user ID to log in to a given phone. Okay, and so then one other thing is within that person's end user web portal, the user themselves, if they've been assigned a phone that has the hot desking enabled, then within the voice services under service settings, you will see hot desk password here. So they are able to change that and keep it even more secure. And they'll hit that here and hit save settings. So if they don't know what it is and they want to go change it, as long as they have access to the end user web portal, they can go into voice services, enter the hot desk password that they want to use from now on, and hit save settings. They don't have to know the previous one. All right. So let me step you through. This is with the Poly hot desking phone enabled. And what you see here is the phone is logged out. And if hot desking is enabled, there is an icon or a soft key for login. And it is not assigned to anybody. You cannot use this phone to make a call, anything like that. And so it would be sitting at this. So I would hit the login button, and then, well, that's only after I enter the stuff, sorry. So that's what you would see. So I would enter John Doe is the user ID I have for this one. But notice I don't enter the @trials.com or @domain. Whatever. That part you don't need. This phone is already connected to zero touch provisioning. It's already assigned to a particular domain, but it is sitting here waiting to be registered to a user. So I enter my user ID, no @domain. If you want on the polys to change it, because you may have alphanumeric, you may have numbers, you may have all kinds of stuff, a mixture, then you would hit the mode button here and you can change it to numbers, including your password, maybe alphanumeric as well. Once you enter that, then click login and it will verify your credentials, and then the phone will take on your capabilities. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward to do that. When you log out, you're done. This is my phone. It's connected. It's got a green icon here showing that that line is registered. Whenever you're ready to log out for the day, sorry, I've got a little echo there. Then you hit the log out button. It'll ask you, are you sure? And you say yes. And then it will go back to that main screen. Sharon, is there a question?
There is a question. So Sarah, is hot desking associated with the telephone or the user or both?
It is associated with the phone itself. And if that phone, so it's enabled at the phone level, and then that phone is assigned to a subscriber. And once that subscriber has a hot desking enabled phone, then they will be able to make changes in their end user web portal.
Okay,
So
thank you.
it's a phone-based assignment. Yep. So this is logging out of a polyphone. Let's also look at the next one, I believe, is Yealink or Yealink, however you want to say it. So this is my Yealink T41S, and you can see it's a little shiny here. You can see me in the background taking pictures. So it is sitting there, and I want to hit login. Okay, then just like the other, I enter the user ID without the @ domain, and I just move up and down with these arrows here to go to the next line. I type in the password, and you notice how this changed to a 2AB or a 123. You can hit that soft key, and it's a toggle between the different modes. And then you would hit login, and then you'll see it say successfully logged in, and then everything will be just like a normal phone. When you log out on the Yealink, I've got the phone all set up here. If I press log out, then it will be, are you sure? Are you double dog sure? You press OK, and then it'll tell you. And then to get off of this screen, the notification, you just simply hit the exit button, the soft key, right? And for the Cisco, they call it sign in, sign out. And so there'll be, when it's enabled for a phone, uh, then that phone will be sitting in just like this, user ID and password, and you hit sign in. And if you want to change the modes to input numbers, alphanumeric, that kind of thing, it's input all or input numeric. You can change that. And again, putting in the user ID without the @ information. That's a common thing that people do, is they try to put the full user ID at domain.com. And then putting in the password, selecting the sign in button, and then you can see sign in successful, and then hit OK to clear the message. To sign out of the Cisco, you simply click the sign out. Now you know immediately that this phone has been enabled for hot desking because you have a sign in, a sign out, a log in, log out button. And so you'll want to sign out, and it says, are you super duper sure? Yes, sign out. And then it will tell you it's in progress. If you needed to cancel it for any reason, you could, but then OK, it'll tell you it is successful, and you click OK. All right, so I'm going to, before we do any of this, I'm going to bring over the administration and show you that. So I have 3 phones. I have John Doe, which is my Yealink, Carla Sue, which is my little sister. Sorry, she's the Yealink. John Doe is the Poly, and Sarah B is the Cisco phone. So each one of these, you can see if I click this on the right-hand side, you can enable or disable hot desking. So that's one thing that you can do. And you can also see in this list that it shows, and you can sort on those. So if I wanted to enable it for the VVX 300 that I have here, all I have to do is click the enabled, and then click modify devices. Okay. You can also change firmware this way. We used to have this up at the top of the page. Now we've moved the actions over to the right-hand side. If you're adding a new device, then when you add a device, you simply choose a particular phone, a model, and then set your firmware if you want to manage the firmware in ours. But notice the hot desk enabled or disabled. For phones that we don't support that, notice the hot desk is not available. It's how you would know easily whether or not that phone manufacturer uses that. Okay, and the generic ones we don't either. Okay, and one other thing that you can do if you hit the help here, we do have the, let me return to list here, sorry, input from file. You can see the import template here. Part of the import template, if you're adding in a bunch of phones, MAC addresses are very easy to type in incorrectly if you're not careful. And so you want to double check that. And if you have a lot that you have to enter in, then I highly recommend that you use this bulk import. The first tab in this tells you the various ones, and here is the optional field for hot desk. The default is disabled, But for any of these that you want to upload in this example here, you can say enabled or disabled, and in that, so you can see easily. And then using that to add from file, selecting that on your computer and hitting upload. Okay, that's a very handy way to do that. Now that we have phones that have this enabled, when I go over to my subscribers, if you're deploying this as, you wouldn't assign the phones to the subscribers. So I'm going to go into John Doe, and you'll see here that I do have a phone assigned to him. You can do that, and you can keep it as, you know, a hot desking enabled phone. Or you can say, I'm not going to assign a MAC address to anybody. I'm going to have all these enabled with hot desking, and then they can be assigned as people go around and set those up. And so you can set up the hot desking password here. I've already done that. And within the end user web portal, you can also set that. And that is, again, here. I've already set that. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you in just a second. I am going to flip over into John Doe's end user web portal and show you where I was mentioning, make that a little bit bigger, under services. And voice services is the default here. But notice there's a hot desk password that can be put in here. And yeah, okay. And you would hit save settings if you change that. And let me see if there is, I think most of mine are in the Austin site. Yeah, there's nothing in sites at all for that. All right, now let me, I am mirroring my phones here. So let me get that where you can see. I have a Poly here, and it is sitting unregistered to anyone, but the phone itself is set for hot desking. And so I can move this up and down and set this. So that I'm going to put this as J. Which one's in? There we go. Okay, you can back up if you mess it up, which I always do. Okay, John Doe, and then move the cursor down and I put in the password. Now I want to change this to all be numbers, which it is. Okay, so you can move that up and down and change that, and you just hit the OK button. I'm going to keep that as numbers, and I made mine easy. I believe that's right. Hit login. Ah, it failed. Okay, I know what it is now. I know I changed the password, so let me do it again. All right, at least you guys could see the error. Maybe painful watching me, sorry. At least I didn't have a long name. Okay, and now it has taken on all the capabilities. You notice that my line appearance is green up at the top, so it is registered with that. And when I'm ready to log out for the day, you can see the time on there. When I'm ready to log out, I hit this. Are you sure? Yes. And now it's sitting at this ready to log in. All right, now I'm going to go to the, without knocking everything over. Was there a question?
Yeah. So
Okay.
even though when you originally signed into the admin portal, it showed that John Doe had a MAC address assigned with him. If he's traveling to another office and he's got a phone that can be hoteled, he can sign into that phone. So he'll be on two phones at the same time.
Yeah, Yeah, it would show in there. Now notice I tried to dial something, logged out, and it will still do an emergency call, but you can't do anything other than that. Okay.
Okay. And does it log out of the hotel phone after a certain amount of time?
No, it isn't a time.
Okay. So
Yep,
if
I've
they
seen
forget to
some
log
systems
out,
do that. Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. All right. Now I'm going to go to the Cisco phone here, and so you can see this one as well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit sign in. And this user ID, it's not the same user ID. Let's see if I can hit this. Okay, it's in numbers. So I need to change it to input all. Here we go, select and back. Let me move this out so I can get to, you can see my little sticky notes here of who's what. And I'll move down here. And this one, I'm going to make this all input numbers. And I hit sign in in progress, and sign in successful. And I can hit OK. And this one, you don't see it across the display as you did with the Polyphone. On there, you have to hit the More button, and then you'll see the sign out. Are you sure? You really sure? You double sure? Yes. Sign out. Sign out's in progress. Notice I could cancel it. And it takes a few minutes or seconds, and hit OK. All right. And last but definitely not least, let me move over to the, yes, I have quite a bit of phones here. All right, so this is my Yealink phone, and it is logged out. I'm going to zero in a little bit more on that so you can see that a little bit better. And I'm going to hit the login button. You'll notice I have user ID and password there too. And I do also have these modes that I can set here. So you can choose, you can flip around to that. And I'm going to put it on that. Okay, so same thing. Okay, and I'll have to hit the back delete. Okay, it's hard to do this from the side. Oh, I did it wrong again. Delete. Okay, it's a little delayed. Each one of these is a little different. See. Did I put that in there? No. Hold on. Okay, at least I got the password easier. Move down, and then now just numbers. You don't have to enter a pound or anything like that, and hit the login button, and you'll see that it goes to log in. And it's now registering. The lights come on. It tells me it's successful. And now I'm registered. So up at the top there, you can see that I'm registered. Now, when I want to log out, it's on the main screen. So very easily you could see this. When you're ready to log out, you simply hit the log out. Are you sure? Yes. In case somebody accidentally hits it. And now it's going to deregister here, and it shows no service. Successfully logged out, and it says no service. Okay. So are there any other questions? Let's see here on the hot desking. Oh, it can be simple on the password. It's again, the user can put it in. You can put some requirements around that. I can get the details on that as well, but I was able to do a string of numbers, and I believe that there is a requirement that it has to be at least 4 digits. It can't be just one um, on there. Are there any other questions?
There are no questions in the chat box, Sarah.
Okay. Yeah, this is a feature that we've added over time. Probably the last one that we added is for Cisco, and we've had several people have questions about it and want to know how it can be used. There's also a video that I have done on the Poly. It is in our um, partner portal, so if you want to go in there and look at that. I'll also create a video for the Yealink and the Cisco, and you guys can use them as end user training for your customers. Just not the provisioning part, but just logging in and logging out. Those might be pretty handy for you. And of course, you can also reference the configuration guides for Poly, for Yealink, for Cisco, and they have other information in them too. But the big thing is the hot desking is tied to the phone itself. Is it enabled for hot desking? And then you can assign users to it. Okay. If you have any other questions that you might think of, you can always email customer success at kandy.io, and we're happy to answer any questions for you. If you need a little hand holding and assistance setting it up in your lab or something like that, um, this is going to be a great repository of training on it, so you can leverage this, come back and rewatch it if you're setting it up. And then, of course, if you need any further assistance, our team is able to help you there too. Okay. Any other questions that have come in, Sharon? I think that's it. All right. Well, thank you for your time today. I hope this has been very helpful for you to understand how this feature works and some good use cases. Please take a look at kandy.io, Kandy, as you know, with a K, .io/events, and register for the next fireside chats and other things that we have um, listed up there. So again, thank you for your time. I appreciate your business and look forward to talking with you soon. Thanks so much for attending.